Hello and welcome to Reasonable. In today's video, we're diving into Iran's strategic capabilities to assess its potential threat to Western nations and global peace. Over the past couple of decades, tensions between Iran and Western nations, specifically concerning Iran's nuclear program and Iran's activities in the Persian Gulf, have steadily escalated. These tensions have prompted extensive media coverage over the years, particularly within Western media. However, the war in Ukraine, with its geopolitical and humanitarian implications, has shifted the international spotlight away from Iran's nuclear program and regional dynamics. While Iran's partnership with Russia and its substantial delivery of deadly kamikaze drones have certainly garnered lots of media coverage, the overall issue between Iran and Western nations seems to have received comparatively less focus and coverage in recent times. That being said, let's take a closer look at Iran's nuclear saga and tensions with the West. We will try to untangle the complexities of Iran's military prowess, economic influence, and intricate alliances to determine whether Iran is actually a significant threat. Iran boasts a population of around 88 million and a diverse economy with a GDP of approximately $400 billion. The country is situated in the Middle East and it shares borders with Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Iraq, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. Iran is governed through a unique combination of theocratic and democratic elements. It has a president and a parliament responsible for day-to-day governance. However, ultimate authority rests with the supreme leader, a religious figure who holds significant power over the military, judiciary, and key institutions. This dual structure creates a complex balance between religious authority and popular representation in Iran's governance. Generally, Iran is considered to have a middle-tier military capability, often placed somewhere between the 10th to 20th position globally in terms of military strength. However, these rankings can fluctuate based on the specific aspects considered and don't necessarily mean anything in a real military conflict. Iran possesses a diverse range of military capabilities, underscored by a sizable army comprising of approximately 400,000 personnel. Its conventional forces encompass ground troops, naval fleets, and an air force. Next to that, there is Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, an elite paramilitary force that holds a pivotal position with an estimated personnel size of around 125,000 personnel. The IRGC is equipped with modern weaponry and organized within a unique paramilitary structure. Iran's notable focal point lies in its missile program, particularly its ballistic missile arsenal, capable of targeting adversaries up to 1,500 miles away. Technically, these missiles have the capability to reach not just U.S. bases in the Middle East, but also Israel, and even parts of Europe. Estimations of Iran's complete ballistic missile arsenal vary, ranging from approximately 1,000 to potentially over 3,000 ballistic missiles. Also, as mentioned earlier, Iran has made considerable advancements in drone technology, producing a range of unmanned aerial vehicles for both military and reconnaissance purposes. This arsenal of drones offers Iran increased capabilities in surveillance, intelligence gathering, and even offensive operations. Furthermore, Iran has developed asymmetric naval warfare capabilities fortified by a fleet of speedboats armed with an array of weaponry, including anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, and mines. These maritime forces can potentially disrupt crucial sea lanes, posing a tangible threat to regional shipping and naval operations. So, while Iran has been facing significant arms embargoes, it has successfully developed a domestic arms industry, contributing to its multifaceted military capabilities. However, Iran's military does have its weaknesses. First of all, Iran's air force is characterized by an aging fleet of aircraft, including older fighter jets such as F-14 Tomcats, some of which have been domestically upgraded. Limited access to modern technology and international sanctions have severely hampered Iran's ability to acquire advanced aircraft. While its air force retains a role in Iran's defense strategy, it faces serious challenges in terms of modernization and operational readiness compared to more technologically advanced nations. And despite its sizable personnel, Iran's military suffers from a lack of sufficient training according to various reports. This lack of training can significantly impact the overall operational efficiency of Iran's military forces. Next to that, a fragmented command structure and political influence over military decisions can potentially undermine strategic planning and decision-making. Lastly, its economic constraints due to sanctions impact defense budget allocation, limiting investments in critical areas. These weaknesses collectively challenge Iran's ability to maintain a high level of military effectiveness on a global scale. Its military capability is substantial, but it falls short of being considered top-notch in terms of modern technology and overall readiness. Therefore, the likelihood of Iran initiating a military conflict against Israel, NATO, or other technologically advanced nations is generally considered low. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: Iran's alleged pursuit of nuclear capabilities. When evaluating whether Iran poses a threat to global peace, we must first delve into the context of its suspected quest to develop an atomic bomb. Iran has faced prolonged suspicions surrounding its nuclear ambitions. The culmination of these concerns led to the signing of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action in 2015. This deal aimed to curtail Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. However, the deal soon faced turbulence, as the United States withdrew from the agreement in 2018 under the Trump administration. This cancellation intensified international scrutiny of Iran's nuclear intentions, raising questions about the potential implications for regional stability and global peace. Whether Iran is actually willing and able to clandestinely or overtly develop a nuclear bomb remains an open question. Geopolitically, it could lead to heightened tensions in the Middle East and beyond, potentially triggering an arms race in the region as neighboring countries seek to counterbalance Iran's capabilities. It could also trigger a preemptive strike by the United States, Israel, and other allied nations, which in turn could lead to a military response from Iran. Such developments could potentially result in a regional conflict with several groups, organizations, and nations coming into play. Moving on, let's take a look at Iran's international influence. Consider Iran's bond with Hezbollah. This Shia militant force holds a grip on Lebanon and operates in harmony with Iran, a potential game-changer in any confrontation between Iran and Israel. Hezbollah's military capabilities, honed through Iranian support, include an extensive rocket arsenal and guerrilla warfare expertise. While Hezbollah's role could add a dimension to any potential conflict, it's important to note that Iran's influence over the group is not absolute. Furthermore, Iran's role in the Syrian conflict has been pivotal, aligning with Bashar al-Assad's regime. Iran's support for the Syrian government involved not only military assistance, but also strategic counsel and financial aid. This collaboration allowed Iran to secure a foothold in the Mediterranean region, granting it a direct connection to key players such as Hezbollah in Lebanon. And Iran's influence extends to backing various other factions, notably providing support to the Houthi insurgency in Yemen, where their assistance bolsters the group's capabilities and contributes to Iran's broader regional goals. Similarly, Iran lends support to Shia groups in Iraq, aiming to secure influence and align the country with its strategic interests. However, Iran's strength isn't solely derived from weaponry and proxy networks. It's also influenced by its geographic positioning and natural resources. As depicted on this map, Iran is strategically located alongside the Strait of Hormuz, a critical passage responsible for approximately 20% of the world's oil trade. Iran's positioning alongside the Strait of Hormuz grants it the capability to potentially disrupt oil shipments, causing supply shortages and leading to significant price fluctuations. Furthermore, Iran's economic influence, particularly within the energy sector, provides it with the capacity to influence oil prices to its own benefit. With its substantial oil reserves and as a significant OPEC member, Iran can potentially wield its production levels and pricing decisions to impact global oil markets. However, such actions could also invite counteractions from other major oil-producing nations and lead to complex geopolitical and economic dynamics. So, what can we conclude? Considering all that we've learned about Iran's capabilities, is the country really a threat to global peace? Well, it's a question that deserves a nuanced answer. The perception of Iran's threat is shaped by geopolitical views and diverse perspectives. So in that sense, it depends on who you ask. Iran does not have the military capability in terms of pure military strength to challenge any of the bigger nations in the world, let alone entire power blocks such as NATO. It does have a substantial force, but it simply does not have sufficient capacity, training, and industries to build a top-notch military force. Furthermore, Iran is encircled by over a dozen U.S. military bases in the Middle East. The U.S. maintains a considerable presence across neighboring countries like Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. These bases serve as strategic footholds for U.S. operations, intelligence gathering, and military activities. And the United States regularly positions aircraft carriers in the region, enhancing its military presence. These carriers serve as mobile command centers, enabling swift response capabilities for various scenarios, including safeguarding shipping lanes and deterring potential threats to vital sea routes. So in that sense, Iran is not an imminent threat to world peace. In fact, Iran even refrained from making significant retaliatory moves following the assassination of its prominent general, Qasem Soleimani. Although Iran did retaliate with a missile attack on a U.S. base in Iraq, the resulting damage was relatively limited and the attack had been forewarned, ultimately failing to counterbalance the gravity of Soleimani's assassination. This suggests that Iran may have been, and possibly continues to be, cautious about escalating tensions and the possibility of a direct military conflict. We must also take into account that the Iranian regime has been contending with a series of domestic challenges, including massive protests that have arisen since 2019. These internal pressures, exemplified by significant protests in 2019 and subsequent years, have likely eroded the regime's strength and undermined its capacities. That being said, there are some reasonable scenarios in which Iran could end up to be a threat to world peace, although this is purely speculative. One is, of course, the development of nuclear weapons and its earlier described domino effect and potential repercussions. However, even if Iran successfully produces a nuclear bomb, it may not inherently translate into an imminent threat to global peace. Numerous nations possess nuclear weapons, yet the instances of their use have been limited, notably with the exception of the United States. Consider North Korea, a totalitarian regime in possession of nuclear weapons, which has refrained from their use. Similarly, despite Russia's direct military conflict with Ukraine, it has not employed nuclear weapons thus far. This is not to say that Iran would follow suit, or that the world would become safer with Iran acquiring nuclear weapons, but the historical record indicates a reluctance among nations to employ nuclear arms in practice. Another scenario is the potential for Iran to ignite the region by leveraging its proxy networks in Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Yemen, and Iraq. The ramifications could extend to a regional conflict that, in theory, might escalate into a global confrontation. This threat could be compounded by actions such as closing the Strait of Hormuz and even large-scale missile and drone attacks, which would amplify global disruption, potentially setting off a chain reaction of destabilizing events. However, despite certain potential scenarios in which Iran could pose a threat to global peace, the prevailing consensus suggests that the likelihood of such a scenario materializing, as well as Iran's chances of success, remain low. But ultimately, whether the threat is considered high or not depends on one's perspective and the ongoing geopolitical developments in the region. Thanks for watching this video. Let us know what you think of our analysis in the comment section, and make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos and updates.